Welcome to Green Party, Independent Green Party, Green TV. I'm Kerry Campbell, Independent Green Party.
Hi, I'm Brooklyn Kinley, Independent Green Party. Green Party, Green TV focus is Green Party candidates. Independent Green Party, Green TV is about Green Party, Green New Deals, eco jobs for the economy, positive Green Party solutions. Green Party eco-capitalism, prices must tell the environmental truth. The green industrial revolution, the solar jobs, wind jobs, geothermal jobs, rail jobs, weatherization jobs, conservation jobs, efficiency jobs. Building green neighborhoods, walkable, bikeable, pedestrian, rail-friendly communities. Joining us on Green Party, Green TV shortly is a Green Party's Dr. Bill Kreml. The veteran Green Party candidate, Dr. Bill Kreml, is seeking the Green Party nomination for President of the United States. The CIA World Factbook lists the Green Party as one of only 4 national political parties in the USA. The Green Party has won ballot status with strong performances at the ballot box in almost half of the country. The rest of the nation, the Green Party must petition to get Green Party candidates on the ballot. The Green Party is launching presidential petition drives in 3 states. The Green Party, Dr. Jill Stein, is petitioning efforts to get the Green Party on the ballot in Alabama, Kansas, and Idaho. Dr. Jill Stein's Green Party website and Facebook page offers people the opportunity to volunteer as Green Party petitioners. The Stein Green Party page has a donations button. Donations go to the Green Party petitioning in Alabama, Kansas, and Idaho. 4 other candidates seek the Green Party nomination for President of the United States. Dr. Kent Mesplay. Miss Curry, California Green Party. Miss Curry is recognized in the Green Party and beyond as a dynamic, powerful, charismatic, and inspiring speaker. The Green Party candidate Miss Curry spoke at the National Black Political Leadership Conference. Green Party Green TV features guest today, Dr. William Kreml. He's a retired political science professor, attorney, and author. Dr. William Kreml has run for other offices as a Green Party candidate. Dr. Bill Kreml is the member of the South Carolina Green Party. Dr. Kreml has a law degree from Northwestern University. Green Party leader Dr. William Kreml has his PhD from Indiana University. The Green Party author, Dr. William Kreml, books include The Bias of Temperament in American Politics, published in 2014 by Carolina Academic Press, as well as many other books.
Dr. Bill Kreml, thank you so much for joining us today on Green Party, Green TV. Dr. Kreml, if you would please, sir, start off by telling us a bit about where you were born, where you grew up, and your family, please.
Well, I was born just north of Chicago, up in Evanston, Illinois. My father worked for Northwestern University. It was an academic setting, very rich. My father became the vice president of Northwestern University. My mother worked for the Chicago Public Library system for many, many years. There were very few books that my mother hadn't gotten to. I mean, it's just amazingly well read. But from there, I did go to Northwestern University, Northwestern Law School, and as you say, I got a PhD at Indiana University, which was a wonderful department. It's not quite the department it once was. Boy, you talk about what some state governments have done to social science and humanities is really, really sad. But when I went to Indiana University in the political science department, it was really first rate. So I went on from there and taught most of my career. I taught at a couple of other schools briefly, but that's most of my career at the University of South Carolina in Columbia, South Carolina here. And I was on that faculty for 37 years. And overall, I graduated from Northwestern Law School in '65, so I have now spent a half century in the academy. Now, I have to admit there was some part-time at the end. The last year, I taught just a couple of individual classes down at the College of Charleston. But that's it for 50 years. But if someone wants me to give a lecture at some university, I'll be happy to do it.
Dr. Bill Kreml on Green Party Green TV today. Dr. Kreml running for the Green Party nomination for President of the United States. Dr. Kreml, let's shift, if we can, right now to the Green Party process. What does it take? How do you get to be a candidate for president for the Green Party? What are the requirements?
That's a very, very good question, Kerry, and I'll be brief. There is something called Article 10, okay? If you look up GPUS Article 10, and there are a whole bunch of things in there, but the highlights are that you have to get 100 signatures and from real Greens. In other words, people who are involved in the party, who have been in the party for some years. And that's not an easy thing to do. But I was on the Finance Committee for 2 terms, and I was on the Fundraising Committee, and I've been on the National Committee for many years. So I did know some people. It was a lot of work, but we eventually got our 100 signatures. You also have to raise $5,000, not from your own money, okay, from other people. And that's a little bit tough. But I was able to finally cross that hurdle. And there are other things too. I mean, you have to have a campaign committee, you have to file with the FEC, things like that. In other words, you have to be a full-fledged active seeker of the office. You have to pledge, for example, to be on the ballots in those states where the Green Party has a primary. You have to pledge to go out and campaign. I've already visited several states. So that's basically it. I mean, in order to get into the club, you've got to cross these hurdles.
Now, Dr. William Kreml, a Green Party candidate for president, you mentioned the need to raise funds. Of course, the Green Party is the only national party in the United States, and of course we only have 4, that does not accept corporate campaign donations. So when you start talking about raising money, and please help me out, Dr. Kreml, if I understand it correctly, the limitations on how a Green Party presidential candidate can raise funds for this criteria is specific. Is the amount limited? Right.
You're absolutely right. You cannot raise any money from the corporations, all right? All of my contributions, and I think last time I looked at about 35 different people who've contributed money, some of just, $5, $10. I did have one gentleman who contributed $2,500. Hillary, look out, right? So, that really helped. So I have raised several $1,000s, and that helps me. And of course, I expect to contribute some of my own money.
And you talked about other Green Party requirements. And as someone like me who's been a self-identified Green Party person for about 40 years, we've seen this evolve in the United States, the criteria to be more effective and move more candidates to effective approaches. The next thing that I, as a longtime Green Party observer, Dr. Kreml, in watching your Green Party campaign, is that your campaign seems so focused. And at this point, am I correct that only Dr. Jill Stein and you, Dr. Bill Kreml, have met these criteria that the Green Party, is that correct, sir?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Well,
yes. Now, there are 3 other people who are on the trail, and I can't give you a figure about how many signatures each of them have, but there are 3 other people who I think are at least making a good faith effort and have had some success in signatures and money. But at this moment, you're absolutely right, Kerry. It's just Jill Stein and me.
Now, the Green Party national meeting was this summer, Dr. Kreml, and there was a Green Party forum there for the 5 candidates. Daryl Cherney, who is an exploratory committee from the California Green Party, SKCM Curry, the charismatic lady who we spoke of, and those of us who've been around the Green Party a long time are familiar with her leadership, and Dr. Kent Mesplay, who has run as a Green Party candidate for U.S. Senate. What were your impressions in the one joint forum of the other candidates that you had there? Where do you agree and then perhaps disagree?
I would put it this way, Kerry. I think each person has a sense of what they can contribute. And it's based, of course, on what issues they think are the most important issues. I'm focusing pretty much on two things. I'm happy to talk about other issues. But I have been a part of a group, and you referenced it in some of our correspondence, a wonderful group, the Committee on the Constitutional System, which at the time of the bicentennial of our Constitution in 1987, had completed 2 years of rigorous study of the Constitution with an eye to making some changes for updating and maybe making the Constitution somewhat fairer. And we presented those recommendations to the President and to the United States Congress. I'm very sorry to report that neither the Republican or Democratic parties paid any attention whatever to what we did. These were not third-rate people. I mean, you were talking about Lloyd Cutler, who had been counsel to the President of the United States, C. Douglas Dillon, who had been Secretary of the Treasury, Undersecretary of State, people like James McGregor Burns, a great scholar at Williams College, Jim Sundquist from Brookings. I could go on and on. I mean, this was an A-list group. And I had a small role in the founding of that group, and I participated in it. And as I say, Mr. Cutler was our representative. He went to see Ronald Reagan. They had a very nice talk. And interestingly, privately, Reagan said he endorsed one of our recommendations, which was to extend the House of Representatives' term to 4 years. That's an old idea. We didn't come up with that first, but that's been around a long time. Lyndon Johnson spoke to it many years ago. Well, privately, Ronald Reagan said, yeah, he would endorse that, but nothing ever came of it. And I'm very, very disappointed that the Democratic Party, which I think would benefit somewhat more because we're talking about a more representative, more small d democratic system, they just weren't the least bit interested. And that's one of the reasons that I left, because, you know, the Democratic Party pretends to be small d democratic. It really isn't. I mean, there are certain elites, certain interest groups that dominate that party, and we all know who they are.
You're watching Independent Green Party, Green TV. We are very fortunate and delighted to have with us one of the leading Green Party candidates for the Green Party nomination for president, Dr. Bill Kreml. Dr. Kreml, as if you saw the top of the show, has his law degree and is a professor and an author. Gary Swing wrote to me the other day. Gary Swing is a Green Party candidate for U.S. Senate in Colorado. And like me, a friend of Green Party founder, Petra Kelly, Gary wrote me that he thought it was possible, under his interpretation of current law, for our Congress to create proportional representation like exists in other democracies around the world. Professor Kreml, since you really are the Green Party's foremost expert on the Constitution, what can we do under current law to improve the system? Is that possible? Can we truly, under current law, Dr. Kreml, create proportional representation with our current Congress?
Absolutely. Now, this is only at the federal level, you understand.
Yes, sir.
We cannot dictate that for governor's races and so forth. But for the offices at the federal level, I don't see any problem whatsoever. And this is something that the Green Party has talked about for many years, Kerry. And there are other things, too. You know, the districting that goes on is, as you know, the gerrymandering is just absolutely awful. And there are groups that are talking about fair allocations of districts between the Republican and Democratic Party, and hopefully us at some point. But right now, many states have very, very badly gerrymandered. Well, some federal legislation there would be appropriate, again, for federal offices only, of course.
Dr. Bill Kreml on Green Party, Independent Green Party, Green TV with us today. Dr. Kreml, in your heart of hearts, what is the most positive thing, the positive solution above all else that you as a Green Party candidate for president and the Green Party itself brings, you feel, to the United States body politic?
Well, I do think it's the people have a very mistaken view about the Constitution. That is that it's set in stone, and it's really not legitimate to talk about that. You can talk about individual issues, immigration and mass incarcerations and war and poverty and the environment. That's what you should talk about. Well, I'm certainly not opposed to talking about those things, and I have talked about those things, but it's okay. It is legitimate to talk about the dysfunctions in the structures and processes of our system. Most people just don't understand that. They don't want to get up to that level of looking at the structure and saying, hey, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
I ran for the Senate back in 1980, actually had a couple of campaign events at the very end of 1979. And I began to use a term that we now commonly use. A few other people were just starting to use it. We know that our system is in gridlock, okay? Now everybody's heard that term, but it took a long time. And our system is so bad that we really cannot do anything of any significance. The last grand bargain, I guess, would be the Bill Bradley bargain with Ronald Reagan in 1986, in which a lot of the loopholes were closed. And Reagan insisted that it be revenue neutral, so the rates went down. But that's all right. I mean, at least there was a deal made of some consequence. Well, really, since then, you know, it's just been downhill, downhill, downhill. And now with Paul Ryan, my goodness, he's more conservative than Boehner was. So, I mean, I don't know how they're going to get along. I just really don't. And what, of course, Republicans have said is that we don't have to talk to Obama about anything.
Now, Dr. Kreml, excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Dr. Kreml,
Yeah.
as one of the nation's leading Green Party figures now and running for president, as you lead the Green Party and as you reach out as a Green Party leader to recruit Green Party candidates for local, state, and federal office for U.S. House, are you finding, as you've been to New York, I saw the great presentation you did in New York, you were in North Carolina, I believe you were in Ohio, Wisconsin as well, if I got them all correct, Dr. Kreml?
Yeah.
And as
Wisconsin, I don't know, but I did go to Wisconsin, right?
I'm sorry. As you travel around, and are you excited? Please tell us about any other Green Party leaders and Green Party candidates who you're seeing out there or who you're reaching out to recruit.
Well, I think that there are more and more people who are recognizing, A, that the system is basically dysfunctional, but also that the two political parties are dominated by elites who all have very, very close relationships with one or more significant interest groups, and which means that they've been bought, you know. And I started to say this in late 1979, and these people aren't interested in changing the system. So I think we're beginning to get some traction, again, as I started to say a couple minutes ago, for the idea that the structure and process of the government itself is a legitimate issue.
Dr. Kreml, if you would, please give us something to hang our hat on, as my German language professor used to say. Systemic change, something, one or two things right off that Green Party leadership, a Green Party president, a Green Party majority Congress in the United States, what could we change in the structure, sir?
Well, the first thing I still think is moving the House of Representatives term to 4 years, okay? I think that's at the top of the list. Because these individuals are raising money all the time, which means they are highly beholden to the interest groups. If you get 4-year terms, you've got some breathing room. And you also, if you run that term concurrently with the presidential term, you get a sense that there is some government that has some ideological direction and coherence to it, so that the public is able to judge whether or not that party was successful. If they were, then you can continue to vote for them. If you don't like what they did, then you can vote for the other guys. But that 4-year term would be the first thing. The second one, Kerry, that I think is really important. People do not realize that you not only have separation of powers in our system, okay, everybody knows that. We have the executive and legislative branches, but there's also a separation of people. If you look at Section 6 of Article 1, it says if you're in the legislature, you cannot do anything. You cannot hold any office, whatever, in the executive branch. So the result is that there is no bridge, okay? And I think that's something that when I talk about it, people understand. There are no bridges in our system. If you look at other governments that work substantially better than ours, you have some crossing, okay, between the executive and the parliament or whatever term other countries use. We don't have any of that. So there is no institutional necessary interaction. And I would argue that if you could let some chairs of various committees in the Congress or chairs of subcommittees also serve as maybe not secretaries in the cabinet, but at least some sub-cabinet kind of positions, and have some kind of linkage so that there's communication back and forth, there's coordination back and forth, and there's a sense that, oh, we really want the government to work. There are a lot of people, who don't really want the government to work. I mean, that used to be kind of a secret, but I think it's now out. They're very happy the way it is. And if you have the public sector so immobilized that it really is not able to engage in any kind of effective regulation of the excesses, whether it's Wall Street or whether it's the banks or it's foreign country lobbies or whatever it is, they think it's great that we have a weak government. Well, obviously, that's something that I think we have to change.
Folks, you're watching Independent Green Party and Green Party Green TV. We're honored to have with us on Green TV today Dr. Bill Kreml, the Green Party candidate for the Green Party nomination for President of the United States. Dr. Kreml, a short personal story, if I may. Thanks to the U.S. Air Force, I spent almost a decade stationed in Germany and got to know, that's where I self-identified as a Green Party person, got to know Petra Kelly and Joschka Fischer. And this, what you're describing, the system in Germany that the United States helped devise and design after the Second World War, does exactly what you've suggested that we should do in the United States. When the Green Party leader Joschka Fischer was vice chancellor, he of course was also a member of parliament and he had a vote. Jürgen Trittin, the environmental minister, also a member of parliament and had a vote. And that synchronicity might be the right word, that collaboration made for a more governable body. And I'd say that just to support your point you were making earlier.
Let me say also, Kerry, that the Green Party does very well in Germany. It's in coalition in Hesse, and it's been a part of many coalition governments. And as you say, Joschka Fischer, that was back in the old days when the Greens were in coalition. The smart money is that the next time around, the Greens will probably get into some kind of coalition, maybe with the CDU. But there is a real opportunity here for the Green Party once again to get back into the federal government. And as you say, Petra Kelly, that's where it all began. And it's always been a very, very strong party there.
Of course, the Green Party in Germany is in each of the state legislatures. It's governing in 9 of the 16 states. That's more than Merkel's party. And of course, the economic engine of Germany is the state of Baden-Württemberg, where I studied. And the governor there is Green Party Governor, my old friend, Winfried Kretschmann. The positive solutions, Dr. Kreml, for the United States Green Party in the coming election cycle. President William Kreml of the United States Green Party, were you elected, what would be some of the first legislation, systemic change, Dr. Kreml, you would propose?
Well, let me talk about another issue. Okay, we've talked about the economics and we've talked about the structure. One of the things that's gotten us into so many wars is that this country, sadly, has a large portion of its population that has dual national loyalties. A lot of people don't want to talk about that, but it's true. And these people have really pushed us into wars. And the kind of involvement in the so-called Middle East, I sometimes use a different term, but anyway. And, you know, I have a real problem with people having dual loyalties. I'm a veteran. I'm a member of the Sons of Union veterans. My great-grandfather was shot by the Confederates, okay? And in my quiet way, I'm not a right-wing Yahoo patriot, but in my quiet way, I am patriotic. And I have no use. I mean, look at the simple fact that Al Gore, who everybody says, oh, Ralph Nader kept Al Gore from being president. You know who his vice president was? It was Joe Lieberman,
Yeah.
who at best is a semi-American. He's a guy who had deep national loyalties to a foreign country, okay? And it's those kinds of people who've gotten me in trouble. It's gotten us in trouble. I'm sorry, getting me in. Well, it's me too. I mean, it's my country too. And I guess that was what the Freudian slip was there. Yeah, I mean, I wind up, I was born in 1941. Let me be very candid. I was born in 1941. I remember the 1948 war, okay? My older brother was very involved with current affairs and so forth. And so I remember, you know, that there was a nasty fight over there in 1948. Now, it was a little calm for a short time after that. But basically, these people have been fighting, in fact, practically all of my conscious life, you know?
Dr. Bill Kreml, Green Party candidate for President of the United States. Dr. Kreml, I'm sorry, the time is up. We hope you'll come back to Green Party.
I feel that we got some good things, Gary, so thank you so much.
Please come back and join us again soon, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brooklyn.
The Independent Green Party of Virginia, as all other state Green parties across the USA, is recruiting candidates for Congress in 2016. You can contact the Independent Green Party by visiting our Indy Green Party Facebook page, or you can visit the Independent Green Party state website page at votejoinrun.us. If you want to be an Independent Green Party candidate for U.S. House of Representatives in 2016, contact the Independent Green Party State Chairman, Joseph Otto. His email,